with it. Let's pretend that it is ready. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Nick, and this is Shannon, and this is the Heatley End. Look, welcome, everybody. We've tried and tried again. This is our fourth episode now. We've tried to get our intro timing down pat because we've got to wait until we're actually live. Otherwise, when the video gets re-uploaded later onto Facebook and YouTube and everything, it gets cut off the intro. So we're trying to delay and pretend that we're doing small talk at the start. But Shan,
Hi.
how are you, mate?
Yeah, good. Going good. I'm enjoying the fact that it's cooled down now. It's been pretty warm here today. Finally some cooler weather.
crazy warm in Melbourne yesterday and for the last couple of days. What's on? Has it been a big week for the Carlton Football Club? I don't know. Has much gone on the last 7 days since we spoke last? Or
Few things have happened. The AFLW has finally released its fixture for 2021. Thank goodness for that. Something to look forward to, everybody.
Hallelujah.
We picked up a couple of kids as well. I think in the draft on Wednesday night that went.
We had a draft. We've got newbies.
100 years it felt like. It was just the slowest draft I've ever watched in my life. It took 6-7 hours to get through.
The US election finished earlier than the fucking draft. Oh, is that our first swear word on the anyway? It did. It was
crap.
Mind-numbingly awful. We only had 2 picks, and we had to wait until 11:30 for the second one of those to be done. Crazy.
Yeah.
How are you going, 11? G'day, Matt. How are you?
Good. Hello.
Hello, everybody who is watching live with us. Hello, everybody in the chat going on. Well, it has been a big week, Shan. I fell asleep before our first pick. So I'm presuming that we don't know. But, yeah, look, so did Michelle. My fiancé fell asleep. It was terrible. The first round, I think, took an hour and 46 minutes or something like that for the first round. Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. But g'day, Rob. How are you?
Hi, Rob.
Shout out to Rob. But let's talk about the draft. It was a big night. Your thoughts? Any surprises? Anything come on that we mentioned Corey Durden on our show last week as a potential draftee.
We also mentioned James Rowe, and he went
very pick after.
I'll pick before, pick after.
The pick right after us.
Yeah, and I was a bit disappointed, but Jack Carroll was a bit of a surprise for me. I know I didn't expect him to slip that far down the list, and I'll take it.
Admittedly, he's someone we haven't mentioned yet because we didn't think he was in our reach.
No.
Everyone ranked him, every single Phantom draft I watched, every single interview or projected list from the experts had him going anywhere between 12 and probably 20. So for us to pick him up, what did it end up? Pick 42, one in the end?
41, 42.
That's pretty good. And in a draft that seemed quite top-heavy, a lot of key position talents going in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for that, he probably ends up, dare I say it, probably being in the best half a dozen midfielders in the entire draft. For us to get him at 42 is awesome.
Oh, that's a steal.
Yeah. Boys from WA, very similar to Cripper. He's a Sharks boy. And again, I don't profess to have seen hours and hours of footage of the kid play footy. But a left foot on him that really excited me, knows his way out of traffic and accumulates the ball.
Yep.
Can't hurt. It's hard enough to get it, and then it looks like he knows how to do that, but when he gets it, he knows how to use it. So
we need.
Absolutely what we need. And then, our rookie draft the next day, Luke Parks.
Yeah.
Big boy. So he was on the Sydney Swans Academy in New South Wales. With the lack of NEAFL competition this year, at the start of the year, he said to his mum and dad as a 17 or an 18-year-old, whatever he is, he asked his parents, can we move to South Australia? So he packed and moved up to Glenelg and moves to Glenelg to play senior footy and to better his chances of getting drafted. And it worked out because the kid found himself on an AFL list.
There you go.
what that tells me is that he's willing to compete and willing to back himself in and willing to take risks and willing to take chances out of belief in his own ability. And I love that.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Like,
I'm willing to do what I need to do to make it.
Yeah, whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
Absolutely love it.
Right,
Let's get started with our first question. Our higher-ups, our management, are asking the first question. Had we kept pick 8, which ended up drifted, would we have picked Carroll? So we ended up trading pick 8, and we got Sard, and we got picks back, and ended up working our way down the order.
I don't know if we would have picked up Carroll. If he was available, possibly, but it's hard to know, really, if we had our crystal ball.
This isn't me trying to make the unpopular opinions start early. I believe we would have gone for, forgive me off the top of my head because I'm not awesome. I try not to remember. Perkins, his name is. I reckon we would have gone for the lad Perkins, who ended up at Essendon. He's the one who said, leave me out of the draft. I don't want to bar it unless if I'm going interstate. Don't want to do that. He ended up going about pick 9 or 10. Essendon had 9, 10, 11, I think, in the end.
Yeah.
That sort of pick would have been about us, I think. He's, again, a similar style as Carroll. So, that is my opinion. But what do you think? Would we have kept pick 8, would Carroll be in the mix?
Would have been in the mix for sure.
We would have needed a midfielder. So, that's what we're after.
Yeah, well, considering that we picked him up for the pick we did, I reckon he would have been in the mix for sure. But no, I've seen highlights of Archie Perkins, and I could have been anything if we had picked him up, to be honest. But it is what it is, and we'll take what we can get.
G'day, Vicky Ann. Rafi, we drafted a small forward, nearly fell over. Heaven forbid, we got a small forward on the list, Shan.
What have we actually drafted from day dot? It's amazing.
We've spent probably the better part of our first 3 episodes on here talking about how we need a small forward, and how not only do we need to replace the imminent departure of Eddie, because we think he's probably got one more in him, as much as we'd love to think he can go on forever.
Yeah.
There is spots in that forward line up for grabs.
Oh yeah,
there really is.
Absolute fight for positions in 2021, and it's exactly what we want. We want fights. We want them to earn their spots.
100% agree. And not only do I believe we've drafted a small forward, I think we've drafted an all right one by the look of it. So as an under 16, he played predominantly as a midfielder and won the league MVP, the best kid in the country as a midfielder as a 16-year-old. Because he's not exactly massive, it's the whole, let's call it the Zach Fisher effect or the Caleb Daniel effect or whatever. They kind of get pushed out of the midfield of these smaller blokes and get asked to find other strings to your bow. Can you play down back? Can you play up forward? Whatever it looks like. And he went forward and found that he's just as capable up there. So this is why I'm really excited about Corey Durden. He goes up forward. Now, I'm not one to – well, I am one for exaggerations. But what I saw in his highlights package, that's Jeff Garlett speed.
Oh, that is an amazing speed. I watched it after it was briefed. I'm just like,
Yeah, no, I'm really, really wrapped with that. There was one or two. There's actually one highlight. I'll try and find the video and I'll try and put it on Carlton Live's Facebook page tonight after the show. There's a video I saw of Durden's highlights. He kicked 3 or 4 in one quarter in one game against might be Centrals he's playing against. Don't hold me to that. He plays 4 Centrals. Must be anyway. Maybe North Adelaide. I think they're playing anyway. He kicks 3 or 4 in a game, and the last highlight is actually him kicking a point. But he gathers the ball just outside centre half forward, sort of area outside the 50, with his back to goal. Wrong foots the opponent, turns around, starts running to goal, and over the first probably 10 metres of his run, makes up probably 7 or 8 meters on his opponent. Just that acceleration was like Judd, how Judd could be standing still and all of a sudden he's 10 meters away like that. And it was blistering speed. So, guys, there is something genuinely to be excited about Corey Durden and that speed. Small forward, yes. Do you think we should have looked at a ruckman? So a lot of people have been mentioning Henry Walsh. He was overlooked not only by us but by everyone.
Everybody overlooked him, including.
What do you reckon? Do we still have a hole there, or is it something we can cope for a year?
Well, I reckon we had to cope for a year because Pitto showed a fair bit during the 2020 season when he was handed the Cruiser went down.
Strongly agree.
And just watching him in a few games, like the intent, and it was just a completely different kind of ruckman to Cruiser.
Yeah.
Like Cruiser was agile, but Pitto had he's got a big stocky body and he can go up with the best of them. And I reckon with TDK coming along as well, I reckon we'll be all right for another 12 months if we don't go looking in the preseason draft for a ruckman.
Pitternet to me looks like he's a real tap ruckman, but he's in the same mould as someone like a Shane Mumford or someone like that. He's got a big body. And what I saw about Pitternet, he's not afraid. He's got a bit of mongrel. He's not afraid to throw himself around. For years, we've had big blokes who play like they're Zach Fisher's size. And that's not, I'm not meaning Cruiser. I think Cruiser's just a warrior. But how many times have we had big blokes who we just go, throw yourself in, get involved. You're big, play like it. I saw not only Pitternet with the tap ruck, but if the ball hits the deck, he would clear away. If it's Cripps, if it's Martin, if it's Dow, Murphy, whoever it is in the midfield, he'd clear a path and say, right, bang, and he would hit into an opponent and put that shepherd, which is one thing that Mumford's become synonymous for. And before him, Sandilands as well. I know that this is Johnny there because he's saying, woo. Yes, that was my phone. That's Ric Flair going off. I'm very popular. Yeah, but I'm with you. I think that for at least 12 months, Casbolt probably plays as a third option.
Yeah.
And I still think we've got one spot left on our list, which at the moment is rumoured to be either Oscar McDonald or maybe Jonathan Marsh from St Kilda. Callum Moore has also been asked to come back and train with the club in the view that they might give him a chance to come back.
Hit and miss that one.
I think Moore, in my opinion, is that he's not the answer. But again, he would be a fourth option in the ruck. Jonathan Marsh can play as a fourth pinch hit ruck if needed. Of those three names, Marsh is probably the one I'd pick.
Yeah.
But it could be something completely different. We could maybe forego another tall and go another small. Gavin says that Carroll would be our Josh Kelly. Good Lord, would I like a player of Josh Kelly's ability. Great poise and gets out of trouble with ease. Yeah, that looks like we've got all we need. Vicky Ann says, we've got Pitto, we've got TDK, we've got Levi if needed. I kind of tend to agree, at least for 1 year. I agree. Maybe this time next year, it might be time to draft a few more talls.
Oh, yeah, well, 100% I agree. And going back to the list and how many spots we have available, they did mention it. Someone asked the question last night in that members forum. And Brad Lloyd said they're opening it up to a few players and they're not going to make a decision until closer to the season. So
it'll be people have asked, will we use that pick as a mid-season draft pick? I don't think that'll be the case. To be honest, I don't see the point in that sort of stuff. I think if you've got a spot in the list now, bring someone in now. That way they get a full pre-season, they get a full, they're not coming in the middle of the year like I think it was DeLuca, wasn't it? And they come in the middle of the year and ask to integrate with the side. And I think you use one in the middle of the year if in the middle of the year you've got a long-term injury you need to cover.
Yeah, as long as I don't do a Thomas Bug, then we're good.
No comment. We're all about unpopular opinions. If I share one on him, it might be very popular though.
It might be popular.
It might be popular because those who know what happened there, no thank you to Tommy Bug. Frankie Liberata, hello, my friend.
Hello.
His son Luca told me that Frank enjoys seeing his comments come up on the screen, so I'm going to get Frank in early and put him up on the screen. Look, anything else out of the draft? Any other surprises? We've overlooked a ruckman, but was there anything else needs-wise? We did mention a key defender. Well, we got that in Luke Parks.
No, I don't think. I think we went into the draft wanting a small forward, and we got that. We went in wanting a key defender, and we got that in a rookie.
We came out with apparently one of the better midfielders in the draft as well. So
I think we got what we went in there for. And I think with the players that we picked up, I think we came out with a better outcome than I expected, really.
Me too. I genuinely agree. I think it's the same. we also discussed last week how we went after in trade period at least, and there was rumours about maybe Trelaw or Zach Merritt's names come up. Now, Merritt's name is still up in the air for this time next year.
Yeah, I've heard
come trade week, or free agent he'll be next year. But we were still after that extra midfielder, maybe one more midfielder away. Well, we found a gem of a midfielder in the draft at pick 40 something. So that, again, at least for a year, it really covers the need. Add to that the natural development of the Stockers, the Dows, the Kemp, the Philp, these sort of guys, Lockie O'Brien. You know, if some of these kids can start to come on, then Carlton's growth just exponentially grows.
100%. And we don't always need to keep going and getting ready-made players. Like we got to continue to keep the list moving, and I just think having young players in that midfield, surrounded by the likes of Curnow, Murphy, Cripps, like just those three names right there. There's
the natural development of Setterfield, the natural development of will someone like a Williamson or a Petrevski-Seton seems to be set down back. We heard from the coaches for the last week have said no, he's going to play as a halfback. That is his role, and he's grown a hell of a lot. Upon hearing that, now I always wanted to say that I would probably put him in the midfield. Upon hearing that Petrevski-Seton's going to stay as a halfback, I actually now understand it a bit more. The addition of Saad to provide that extra small defender, I think frees up Petrevski-Seton as a halfback to possibly. He's got the defensive stuff not bad, but what Carlton fans know, he's got that flair and that natural ability to run off and do all these things. He's kind of been – the growth in that area has kind of been stunted because he's possibly been too defensive-minded.
Yeah.
Having Saad there allows him to kind of do that a bit. It probably frees up Doherty a bit as well. So
we know Docker can run and carry. Docker can definitely run and carry. And
100%.
That's
what Doherty's a very good user of the football as well.
Oh, definitely a good user of the football, and it's one of those things that it's actually good to see him already back at training.
Absolutely, amen to that.
Yeah.
The guy needs a bit of luck. He's been through too much. Really, really good to see him at training. Really good to see a lot of the older guys, but the senior players coming back early. Ed Curnow was one of them. The bloke's over 30, but he's just like, yay, an opportunity to run. I'm going to train. He's just a nerd for fitness.
Mitch McGovern there, putting his hand up, training.
And a lot of these guys, McGovern is no stranger to the online critics of Carlton fans, but okay, first and third year players, I'll also put my hand up and go back early because I'm dedicated and I'm invested and I'm buying into the vision that this club has. So really good to see all of that sort of stuff going on. And g'day, Adrian, my Tassie mate. And like Adrian's saying here, reports out of the club are the new boys have fitted in very well. It does seem that way. Zachy Williams was at training yesterday. I think it was his first day back.
Hardy too.
Sorry?
Saad was also at training yesterday.
Been at training and that sort of thing. So really good to see that stuff going on. And apparently, these young fellas, I saw that Cripps has already gotten around Carroll as a WA connection. And, they're kind of – the leaders are getting around the young fellas as well. So it's great to see. And that's what all of us this time of year, that's what we get excited about. We get excited about new players because it brings more potential. And it can only mean good things.
Yeah.
It can only mean good things. You mentioned earlier, there's a question from the Carlton Members Forum last night. I wasn't able to be part of it. Sorry, Mark, Judisha and Kane, if you're watching. I wasn't part of it for the first time in many years, but you were, Shan. So was there any questions that caught your eye? Anything out of the blue, really?
No, a lot of the questions are pretty generic.
Presume a lot of the questions might have been focused around like the redevelopment of Icon Park.
A lot of questions are like that. A lot of questions were about the revenue that we've made this year, staff reductions, COVID safe plans for 2021, what's going to happen to memberships if we're only allowed to have a certain amount of capacity, which was a genuine, I think was a valid question. And the response from Daniel Geese was that if you have a membership, you don't need to worry. I think they're going to have priority over general admission tickets if it came to it, sort of thing. That's the kind of vibe I got from it, which is good to know. Natalie was saying a lot of mental health questions about the players and the staff. as a result of COVID, especially around Tigi and all that sort of thing.
Getting support around not only the players and the coaching staff, but it's a harsh reality. The club laid off, would we say 40% of all staff?
Something crazy like that. They had a lot of staff they had to lay off just to keep the bottom line head above water, sort of thing.
The club managed to actually record an operating profit, which is astonishing considering the decisions. And yes, that profit has come on the back of furloughing and laying off 40% of your staff. But if we can put out a pitch to all the supporters out there who might be watching or might find something like this, the cold reality of this situation is supporting our club financially, whether it's buying memberships, whether it's buying merchandise, going to functions, etc. However we can support our club financially, puts people in a job. Those 40% of people who are out of a job, they get a job back if we're able to support, if the money is there to pay their wage.
Exactly. And that's the reality of this pandemic. It's not just the AFL industry that's suffered. It's the NRL. It's the A-League. It's everyone.
And the best way to support these people and get them into work, or allow our club to grow and hire more staff and put more staff on, is with whatever we are able to contribute with memberships and stuff like that. On that topic of memberships, can we start our show and tell presentation?
Sure.
So I wasn't even on the members forum, but one of the questions I know that came up because I was on social media today, and Twitter might have mentioned this at least, let's say 50 to 60 times, different people upset. Our membership cards. It's been a talking point for the last 24 hours or 48 hours.
Yep.
People aren't too happy with the design. People aren't too happy with the colour scheme or whatever. But I don't know whether she's the first to discover this, but my darling fiancée Michelle has kind of come up with the realization that these aren't turquoise or aqua coloured at all.
Thank goodness.
That's a protective film, everybody. We've had hundreds of people on social media over the past 48 hours upset with the colours. Why is it green? Why is it turquoise? Well, it's not. It's white. Now, are they super high quality, hologram? What? No, they're not. The club, as we just mentioned, have had to lay off 40% of our staff because finances are tight. We've operated a profit and that sort of thing, but it's not an easy year financially. So we haven't gone out and gotten this, rare Pokemon card quality, design on. But so for all those people who are out there and upset that your card's green, it's not green. We've been able to, the Heatley End can reveal, that this is the reality of it. Vicky, already Vicky, I was complaining like F. Yeah, look, you weren't alone. We're not shaming anyone. We're not pointing the finger at anyone. Kind of saying that the memberships were green. I thought they were green when I got it.
So did I. I got mine today, and I thought it was green. Now
we're not shaming anyone here. We're not about that. We're not pointing fingers. We're just saying for everybody who might have been upset or everyone who might have wondered what was going on, that's what was going on.
That's funny.
So the Heatley End's got an exclusive, everyone.
Surprise!
Surprise! So that's our first show and tell segment on this show. So I think that's fantastic.
I can't wait to use my membership in 2021. I
can't wait to use those memberships. That's a very good call. How much do we want to actually just use it? I don't care. To be honest, I don't care what it looks like. If it gets me entry into a ground after 12 months as a Victorian without any footy, it could be purple with yellow polka dots. I couldn't give a stuff. If it gets me in the ground, I'm happy.
It could be red for all I care, as long as it gets me in.
Yeah, red's good as long as it's a soccer club, not a football club.
Well, while we're talking about memberships and getting into football games next year, let's talk about the AFLW.
Oh, can we? Can we? Thoughts on the fixture? Have we got an easy fixture, a hard fixture?
Well, considering we don't play Richmond, a bit disappointed, really. But no, I actually just scrolling through, having a look at the fixture now. I actually think we beat all of these teams last year. I'm pretty sure we didn't get to play Freo. We didn't get to play
Freo.
We didn't play North either, I don't think.
I don't think we played North, did we?
Yes, we did play North. Or it might have been a practice game we played North, from memory.
We didn't play North in the season. Other than that, all those teams we played and beat.
No, 1.
Collingwood beat us.
3, 4.
Collingwood beat us.
Yes, they did. We have 5 games at Icon Park, 1 in Geelong, 1 in South Australia, and our usual Whitten Oval Pride game, round 2. And
we head down to the Scattery, down at
and we play
Alphabet Stadium.
Mackay for our fans and friends in Queensland.
Sharon Dove will be wrapped.
I guarantee you.
For the Queensland supporter group have waited since AFLW started to get a game up there, and they get one, and it's in far north Queensland. So shout out to the far north Queenslanders, part of the Carlton Blues, as a Carlton Queensland Blues. But yeah, look, I'm excited. Mish and I are already planning to at least do the Adelaide trip away.
Beautiful.
If we can do the Queensland trip, we'll try.
See if it holds in with our men's game. I reckon there might be something in that. They might.
As in like a JLT series or whatever the hell they call it. Or
when is the game? The game's in.
The Queensland one is Feb 13 from memory. Yeah. I remember thinking it might be a Valentine's Day gift if we did it.
Yeah, no, I reckon they might do a JLT if they are going to do JLT next year. That is, we don't know yet. If they do a JLT, they might do the Gold Coast.
After everything that's happened, I would be surprised. It's an opinion, not based on anything. I just think hypothetical. It's Carlton. After all we've gone through with Charlie Curnow and all we've gone through with all this sort of injuries or whatever, hypothetical, we go out there and Sam Walsh does his knee in a JLT, we would just flip the F out.
I will actually cry.
It would be the absolute worst thing in the world. So, yeah, I think that's
cry.
Yeah. Andy, back quickly back to the members forum. Andy said he asked a question about media whispers and fan forums supporting division and factions on the board. It didn't get answered.
Not surprised.
First thing I've heard about it. You said, do you know any info on this, Shane? Can't say I know any division and factions on the board.
No. I know they're always trying to say that Chris Judd's not happy and this sort of thing. Like they always chuck out whispers, but I haven't really heard anything. That question was answered.
Is he ever happy?
No. Well, apparently there was a rumor out today that they're moving to
Byron Bay. Yeah,
Byron Bay or something stupid like that.
Don't buy the Herald Sun. Anyway, I'm not a fan of. Anyway, I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to use this platform to shit can the Judd. No. But the Herald Sun are bloody disgraceful reporting something like that, which is blatant lies, apparently. No, look, I don't know of any reports of division or factions on the board.
Not me either.
There was a actual vote. So members got a vote on the board additions. Was that start of this year or late last year? It was maybe this time last year.
The AGM. I think that was early this year.
Yeah, so they had we got to vote on those. There was 3 candidates or 3 spots up for re-election, and all 3 incumbents got re-elected. So fans have had their say on who gets onto the board, and if there are reports of division, Andy, I haven't heard about it. Can't say I know. Yeah, I can't say I know about those ones. Hitting the AFLW up again. Disappointed we don't get to play Richmond to see our favourite Tiger and former Blue Sarah Hosking. Yeah, I must admit it would have been a pretty cool thing to be able to see Hosking versus Hosking.
It would have been.
And you know, Richmond were the Spooners last year, so if you're wanting to play certain teams in a fixture, they're the sort of team you would look to play.
Yeah, well, it's good.
They've done all right over the off season with some of the recruits they got. They've done a lot better. Sarah, nonetheless, is a very good player.
Yeah.
So they won't quite be easy beats this year, but
no.
I think in terms of the fixture, obviously Fremantle and North were the other teams last year who were in contention for the flag.
Yeah.
Freo have a right to feel as jibbed as we do for not getting last year's flag or this year's flag because they were undefeated. But as we said last week, they didn't play Carlton.
No.
And we didn't play them, which is fair enough. So we played them last round, is it?
Yep, March 28.
We have to wait the entire season to see who gets bragging rights. We might both, heaven forbid, we wouldn't know. We might both be undefeated by then.
It's true. And it's good.
We're undefeated. It'd be awesome.
we only got 3 night games, and 2 of those are round 1 and round 2. And then
the season opener, the Pride game's a night game.
Yeah, Pride Game 7:45 start at the Whitten Oval. I will be excited to at least try to bring my 6-month-old to round 1 against Collingwood because she needs to be there. But we'll see how that goes.
I think it's going to be good. The season opener is always a big deal.
Oh,
and the Pride game is always a big deal. So now it's a Pride round. So I'm speaking. I've got my hand up here. Where are we? That way. Carlton Pride, get your stuff. So I'm also on the committee of Carlton Pride. Is also on the Cheer Squads committee. But so we as a group always, that's probably one of the biggest events of the year for us as a group. But now they've made it into an entire round. But the fact that game will be a Friday night live on Channel 7, a marquee event for that round still will make it the event of the weekend, of the Pride Round weekend, which is a lot of the LGBTIQ community groups and fans of other teams turn up for that game because it's such an event. The fact that that's going to be on a Friday night is a big deal.
It's going to be every year. We say as a group, it's a fantastic event, and this year was no different. And
I'm so glad Carlton gets to be part of it.
Show. We put on an absolute show at the Whitten Oval, and it was an absolute stinker of a day. But it was good to go home burnt with a win.
Much better than the first one we had, where they beat us. I think AFLW was renowned for low scoring. I think they beat us by close to 100 points that day. It wasn't good at all. Look, we've gotten through. We've touched on the draft. We've touched on AFLW. A bit on last night's what do we call that one? The fan forum.
Yep.
What else has been happening in the world of Carlton? Is it time for our unpopular opinion segment or?
Yes, let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Everybody who's watching, for those of you who've seen our show before, you know the deal. We want to hear your unpopular opinions. What's something that you think no one else would agree with? It doesn't necessarily have to be Carlton related, but we're all about the Baggers on this show, so we want to make it all about the Blues.
Yep.
Shannon, do you want to go first? Hit us up. What's your unpopular opinion?
I had to sit on this for a little bit to think about it, and only thought of it this afternoon. So I don't know if many people will agree with me, but I don't see the issue with having a 6-6 with Marvel Stadium as a home game.
So splitting our home games between Marvel and MCG, you don't necessarily see a problem with the deal as it is currently in place?
No, I don't have a problem with it. I actually think it's probably beneficial in some ways. I may be the only person that thinks that, but...
So it seems every year at our members forum, everyone says we want to play more games at the MCG. We don't like Docklands. We don't... why is it, that you don't necessarily mind? Do you like the difference of games? Do you think... Yeah. Ultimately, a lot of people say that grand finals are won at the G, so the more games you can play there, the better. They're saying that playing on different sorts of surfaces can affect players' injuries because you're going from a harder surface to a softer surface. Injuries come up. But
if you look at it we say that you win premierships on the MCG. Look at a West Coast who don't really play in Melbourne at all very often, and they still win flags on the MCG. I'm not saying that we don't need to not play the majority of our games at the MCG. I just don't see an issue having so many games at Marvel Stadium either. So,
Fair call. Andy Jones says, hang on, I clicked the wrong one. Here we go. Andy Jones says, I'm with you, Shannon. If we're good enough, we'll win on any ground. I don't disagree with that. You can play on the moon, and I don't care as long as they win.
Yeah.
Not necessarily wrong. If we want to be a big club, Mish says we want to move on to the G, hopefully accommodate our 80,000 members. Now, that's a very good counterpoint. If we're going to have, we're aiming for 80,000 members this year. If we're going to have 80,000 members, that doesn't fit into a stadium that holds 56,000 people.
That's fair, but we don't always turn up at Marvel Stadium either.
Yeah, look, I think for the teams that do still play at Marvel, we have one of the highest home attendances there.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I'm not against splitting it up a bit. For now, I think our current deal, don't hold me to it, I think our current deal ends at the end of 2022.
That's what I was led to believe as
So
well.
we've got 2 more years on the current deal, which I believe is 6.5.
Yeah.
And then they'll review it.
I wouldn't be opposed to them changing it after that, but I just don't see the issue with it currently.
Ultimately, I don't know necessarily, and I also don't profess to know what our deal is financially out of Docklands. I do know that the last deal we signed up to with Docklands is far more lucrative for a home game than it was. But yeah, ultimately, I'm of the belief that whichever stadium offers us the most money, first and foremost, in the short term, I'm up for. If Telstra don't want to offer us $500,000 a home game, which isn't what happens, but that's what Geelong earns for every game at Kinnear Park. Good on them. I'll take it in a heartbeat. But ultimately, we will be leading towards primarily solely at the MCG.
Yeah, that's fair. And I hope one day we do have 80,000, or hopefully even this year we have 80,000 people to fill that MCG. But no, I just feel that Marvel's Marvel. If we can win games there, we can win games anywhere.
I think my unpopular opinion is not necessarily that it's unpopular, but I think this is going to be hard to articulate. I don't think my view is unpopular. I just don't think it is a popular view, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Of the 3 kids we've just drafted, Durden, Carroll, and Parks, I actually reckon, from what I've seen so far, that Parks, our rookie, will be the best of the 3. We've gotten a small forward in the second round of the draft. We've gotten an elite midfielder, it seems, in the second round of the draft. I reckon this kid Parks is the centre-half back option or tall intercept defender option. He's made of the right stuff. And based on what I've seen, he's got a massive body. He looks like he's ready to go now. And if there's an injury, it's not exactly an easy back 6 to get into, but if there's an injury, he might be a long-term replacement. Long-term, he might be the guy to move forward with Wiedering. I'm going all in on this kid. I reckon he's got the right stuff.
Okay.
Do you disagree with me?
No, I don't disagree with you. I don't know enough about him to make a comment, I suppose. I'd probably need to do a little bit more research on him myself, but I totally back your decision. If I trust that you know.
There's something about the kid that just when I've seen what I've seen so far, I really, really like the footage. Loves the contested mark. But he gets himself into these really good positions in contests, knows reads the ball really well, intercepting. Whether one-on-one defending is something that he can actually do or not, I don't know yet. But purely based on the footage, he looks like he wants to compete. And when he does compete, wants that ball at any cost. And, return of the mad dog sort of stuff. Let's get some... How many years in a row have we all said, who's the next Mitch Robinson? Who's the next Nick Duigan? Who's the next, Jeremy Laidler or these sort of guys, or Jared Waite or Heath Scotland, who would just punch into every contest? He looks like the sort of kid who's got a bit of shit about him and wants to fight.
That's good.
Maybe it's just a shit haircut. He might just look rough and stuff. He's got me fooled.
Man bun.
Man bun indeed. He needs a haircut. I know that much.
Okay.
I'm going all in. Well, we've got a special guest, Shan. It's not a planned guest, but let's get the King Pooh Bar himself in. Let's get him in. Johnny.
King Pooh Bar himself. Hello.
King Willie Weedy.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
How are you, Johnny?
I just thought I'd come in and just say, how much I'm enjoying watching your show. And
thank you, brother.
Absolutely love being a fan, it's just and just contributing here and there. So thank you very much, guys, for
not only being a fan, but you're our first ever guest.
Welcome. A guest on your own channel. Who would have thought?
Oh, it's great. Look, Carlton Live was, just a bit of history. Carlton Live was never meant to be about the John Rowe show or the Trevor show. We put it together to be a community show, and we just happened to be there and be in front of the camera. So I'm loving it. I really am. Just to raise a couple of points. Just follow up on the pick 8. I reckon definitely that Carroll would have been in the conversation. Because if you saw this draft more than any others that I've probably seen in my life, is that every club was nitpicking because the list sizes have been reduced so much, they were nitpicking for actual needs. Yeah. And so I would have seen, Jack Carroll being right up there because he was, exactly what we needed.
That's exactly right. And it's just luck that we got him. And I'll take every bit of luck we can get after this year, that's for sure.
I think also so compromised with all of the next generation academy picks, and everyone had a couple of father sons or whatever sort of stuff. Everyone was bidding on players that they were trying to get. It just meant that all of these people were able to slide, and none more than Carroll. If Hamish reckons he's a future Brownlow medalist, well,
big call, Hamish.
I love it. It's a big call, but get on it. Get around him.
It was sorry, it eludes me. Doesn't matter.
Lockie Neal, he was at least second or third round.
I think he was. Where's our stats go?
Yeah, so
Matt, you're in the comments.
It comes more with desire, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Totally right. And that's what I was saying before about with Parks. I think if someone's willing to cross country as a 17, 18-year-old and go from Sydney to live in Sydney in general, but to move from Sydney to Adelaide for the purpose of footy at that age and back yourself in and say, no, I want to play in an established competition, playing against men every week. I think I can do this, and then goes on to be one of the better key position players in that league. And when does so, gets himself drafted as a result of having that and taking that initiative and showing that drive and that passion. Ultimately, as you say, that's what makes a Brownlow medalist. That's what makes all Australians. They are cut above the rest because they are willing to go that extra yard.
Oh, yeah. And ones that are definitely the ones that are willing to travel, like you said, like to chase their dream. And ultimately, if you want to chase your dream and you want to come to Carlton, we'll take you. Come. Yep. Open arms.
Absolutely. And it kind of, on the flip side of that, you think about the kids who are being gifted games and so forth. They don't sort of have that drive and that, self-motivate.
We've had many of them over the years, John.
Yeah, and it's, have we got that, that sort of wrong? I've always been against this thing about, you have to go to private school to, get into and that type of thing, because
I went to a private school. It doesn't make you good at footy.
Yeah, I went for 3 years as well.
Public school here, I'm good.
Yeah, she plays footy. Yeah, no, but it's true. It is true. A lot of it now, every year in a draft show, you hear, they come from a good family. They've, that's code for, they went to Parade, or they went to Xavier, or they went to
Whitefriars.
They're from Scotch, they're from Caulfield, they're from Geelong Grammar, Melbourne Grammar. It's where they all seem to come from now. But it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a bad player, but ultimately wanting it is what you need.
Yeah.
Doesn't you could have the roughest Dustin Martin. Does his background and his upbringing make him a bad player?
No.
Yeah.
He goes all right. That
bring to the table.
It's desire takes you to the next level, isn't it?
Yeah, ultimately, the penny dropped for him when he was about 21 or 22. He could have gone either way. There was rumours he was off the GWS for a bit, about 2012, 2013, and he was nearly there. Ultimately, he kind of put his head down, and Richmond invested in him, and they said, well, we'll get Mark Williams around you. We'll get Damien Hardwick around you. Trent Cotchin played a massive role in Dusty, and look at him now. He's one of the all-time great players. Not that this is the Dusty show or anything like that, but he is the benchmark. He's the benchmark, and that's what we've all got to aspire to be, as in football. Shannon, have you got a question coming in from John Allen?
Yeah, our friend John Allen from the WA supporter group. He had a question about coaching a bit earlier. Not just Teague, but as a group. Definitively no plan B or C last year. The 5-goal crashes must stop. What are our thoughts on having different coaches around Teague?
New ball goes to you, Johnny. How do we stop the 5-goal bleeds? How do we support Teague better? Is there a plan B?
Strategy of this sort of basketball style of play. I haven't for a long time. Running up and down the field like it's a basketball court. You need to have the structures in place to be able to have, plan B and C.
Absolutely.
Actual play.
Yeah.
You need to be able to, all right, if this gets out the back, what do we do then? I think that's what we don't have. And you can't, what I don't like about David Teague is he said you've got to have fitter players who run all day, who be able to do that run up and down. No, you just need to be smarter about your use of the space, and which Richmond are brilliant at. They use the space, and they know they've got.
They hunt in packs.
Yeah.
But they've got second and third row there ready for it to come out the back. And God help trying to get you through that defence. It's become impossible.
We always say now that you need 22 players who can play 22 positions in effect. Obviously, a ruckman can't be asked to be a wingman or anything like that, but ultimately the best defence starts by locking the ball inside your 50. So when the ball does get in our 50, the best way to stop it going that way is to lock it in. So if you've got people up there who are willing to tackle, willing to put in the pressure, willing to keep that ball in there, that matters. That helps your defence. If the ball, like centre clearances and their midfield, I think a lot of the pressure on our back six comes from our midfield. That were very, very willing to run one way. The second the ball got turned over, oh, shit, we're going to go this way again.
Yeah.
They're the sort of thing.
I found that
when the ball does, how many different facets to your game can you offer our team?
Yeah.
Look, I just got to. I agree with you 50% there. Your back six has got to be absolutely solid, and they are, and we've got backup for that. We're in the situation now that Hawthorn used to be. Is like any player on the ground, they immediately had someone from the Box Hill Hawks to come up and take a position. I reckon in our defence,
I agree with that.
At the moment,
we're already asking where will Marchbank, where will Newman, where will all these guys fit?
And that's a good problem to have.
Yep.
Exactly. I think by the way, just a little bit of an aside, I think if SPS stays as a defender, he'll leave.
Unpopular opinion?
Coming in hot.
He will. I think, I don't like. I didn't like the appointment of Mitch McGovern because I saw the way the game was going, and going too tall up forward was not the way to go, because you need a midfield and a forward line that's basically interchangeable, apart from, your absolute tools. And even then they can come into the ruck, but you need that rotation, because it is such a heavy game to play.
Who's Richmond's most dangerous midfielder?
Sorry,
who's Richmond's most dangerous midfielder? Dustin Martin. Who's their most dangerous forward?
Dustin Martin. Yeah.
Yeah. He can play anywhere, that bloke. He's dangerous no matter where he is on the ground. And that's what we need. We need someone who could be just as dangerous across the ground.
Oh, but Patrick can be that. He can be that and more. We've only just seen the start of him, but he needs to be unleashed. So
ultimately, is that the problem? Is that the problem of the staff, of the coaching staff, not unleashing him into that position and asking him to play that role, or is it incumbent on him? We were just saying before about taking that initiative and taking those steps. Yeah. Is he putting his hand up and saying, do we know that he's saying to the club, I want to play as a mid. I want to do this. This is something I want for the rest of my career. We know that Fisher wanted to play mid and he was asked to play a role. He's now brought in up forward. But is a similar sort of thing happening down back, you think, with Sam?
I feel it might be. I feel that could possibly be, because I know when we've played him in the midfield, he's actually shown us what he can do with that pace, like early in his career. But swinging him to the back now, I feel like he's muzzled a little bit, if that makes sense. Like not giving him the opportunity to have that.
Stunting the creative freedom, you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to Andy Jones here and saying the 666 killed our recruitment of SPS and Zach Fisher, because they were going to be the ones off the square, come straight in and become those extra midfield.
The extras around the contest.
Exactly. They were never going to be the in and under guts midfield.
That is a really good call.
No,
So-
before they introduced the 666,
Exactly.
that's the style that they were going for. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was becoming hugely popular. That player who become that fourth, fifth, sixth midfielder and be able to use it both sides, be able to use it, go in and out, that type of thing.
I hate to make this the Richmond show. Shane Edwards does it perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, and that's what we need to find. I don't think that the lights are out on either of those two playing midfield.
Oh shit, no. I still think both, especially Fisher. I think toward the end of the year showed a hell of a lot of promise up forward as a small forward.
Yeah,
and knowing he can go in the midfield.
Did you notice in the latest footage he looks like he's a lot bigger?
He does.
He does. Very good.
I thought he might have been eating some of his dog navy. I thought he might have been eating some of the doggy treats because it was around his neck and shoulders and upper body and chest. I noticed a bit of extra size, which he's not exactly Levi Casbolt in stature, but a couple of extra kilos up here isn't going to compromise his speed and his agility, sort of thing. We're not asking him to put 8 kilos on his ass and his waist and fatten him up, sort of thing, which will slow him down. A bit of extra strength up here can mean in the contest he's a bit stronger and can actually,
break a tackle,
push back. Yeah, when he gets thrown around, get pushed back.
Yeah. Going back to.
Sorry, I think the best thing about Zach Fisher is his mind. Like he's just got that split second.
Yeah, switched on.
Everyone else to read the play.
So just quickly, swinging back to our unpopular opinions, I've been reading the comments and I noticed there was one that I think I mentioned to you before the show, Nick, about Charlie.
Oh, yes.
Yep. And I want to know what everyone's thoughts are on this because I've seen it myself and it's not just one person's opinion. It's a fair few people have been saying this around different Carlton pages I've noticed since Charlie's redone his knee. And it's that we should cut our losses and get what we can for him as trade.
I strongly, in the strongest terms, vehemently disagree. Yeah. I think we just spoke about Dustin Martin. Not a lot of players have an X factor that can win you a flag, let alone win you a game. Charlie has that in spades, and even if Charlie Curnow comes back to our side at 70% of what he was full ability is, that 70% is still greater than 90% of the entire competition.
And I agree.
So, yeah, I disagree with it too, but with a huge caveat here. And if you remember back for a long, long time, we had all this hope on Jared Waite becoming fit, because he was going to take us to the promised land. He was going to be forward that we really, really hoped that he could be. I reckon with Charlie, you keep him on the list, but you just don't put him into your calculations of your best 22. Yeah. If he gets fit, great. It's a bonus, absolute bonus. But for you, if you're going for a grand final team, you're saying, right, he's a bonus. Someone else has got to play that role.
Yeah.
I think we've just spoken about that depth down back. We've spoken about how a couple of guys getting someone like a Carroll and these guys like Stocker and Kemp and these sort of guys coming back into the team is going to probably give us a fair bit of midfield depth. And the addition to someone like a Williams just makes that grow so much faster. The forward line's probably still our one spot where there's some people up for grabs. We've spoken about McGovern at length, and we'll continue to speak about McGovern at length.
Yeah.
But at the moment, that second tall forward spot's probably still Casbolt's.
At the moment, yeah.
Probably starts as his.
I'm happy with that.
But it's up for grabs.
I'm happy with that because TD needs someone to
chop out.
Yep.
And I think that'll help out Tom's development. But I'm of the opinion also that when the ball doesn't get down to Levi and he can't find the ball and take 10 marks as a tall forward, unless he is then going into the midfield as that backup ruckman to find a bit of touch and find the ball, I don't think it actually does his game any good either. Even he's just playing as a forward. He needs that backup role for his game and his ability to contribute as well. So I strongly agree in that as well. So I think there's still absolutely a role for Levi Casbolt on our side, but the small forwards and stuff, hopefully we can find a bit of continuity there because whether it's Eddie Betts, whether it's Fogarty, whether it is Durden or Honey or Zach Fisher, Martin, whoever it is, Gibbons as a small forward, or that, the right six, the mix we have up there, I think that having someone like an Eddie Betts there will only, as a tactical line, telling Charlie Curnow or Mackay or Casbolt, whoever it is, you run there. And we're at this time, no, wait, drop back. You go back to the square, I'll run out here. Having a leader like that still around the club, I'm so happy about. Yeah. Because it means that the development, if I'm Harry Mackay, I know that, well, if Eddie's telling me to run there, the likelihood is the ball's going to go there. Yeah. Eddie's body might start to be slowing down, but his mind definitely doesn't. And if I'm Harry Mackay, I also have the knowledge of, well, if I don't clunk this, guess who's at my feet? And that'll only make you more confident that, well, I'm going to fly for it, because if I don't grab it, it's not the end of the world because someone's going to, be at my feet. I think that we're only going to be in good stead. And as you say, then you add on Charlie Curnow, the possibility of him coming back in.
Yeah.
We are getting there.
Scary.
Yeah, but don't make him part of your best 22.
Oh, no. At the moment, he's the cherry on top.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The sweetest cherry you'll ever taste. He's a cherry.
Here's another question, guys. JSOS, how do you see his short and long-term future? I don't see him in my best 22, and last week he was my unpopular opinion, and I still stand for that.
We touched on it last week. The fact that he played the first 4 games, or however many it was, before he got hurt in the Essendon game, he played the Richmond, who we have round 2, Melbourne, Geelong round 3, Essendon round 4. So, yeah, he played the first 4 games of the season, and that tells me that he is in their best. Well, he was this time last year in their best 22. Whether he's in mine, he's one of the people we were discussing fighting for that forward spot.
Yeah, and it's going to be an absolute fight for that.
Unlike others, I don't necessarily see him as a midfielder. Others seem to. I don't.
No, I don't think.
I think his role is a half forward sort of role, or a third tall sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because he's hard to match up on. He's not necessarily fast. He's not necessarily tall. He can't necessarily jump on everyone's head. But counter to that is that you're not going to put someone on him, a tall defender, because they can't run off him at contests because he's smart enough to find the contest himself and impact it. Yeah. You can't put a small defender on him because you're probably wasting that run off him as well. He can kind of play a defensive forward role on your small defender and really impact that. So they've got to be really careful of who they match up on him. So while I don't necessarily know what his place is, he's not the easiest bloke to match up on either.
Yeah, look, is he our best Gunston?
Yeah, Gunston's a perfect example. Because Gunston's been, he's still at Hawthorn, isn't he? Yeah. But he's been the sort of player who, because Buddy and Ruffy were Buddy and Ruffy, fell under the radar so many years in a row and was just quietly kicking 40 goals. I don't necessarily think Jack's going to kick 40 goals. I love it. But I think that he can kind of, because of, for lack of a matchup on him, he can really still be damaging. I think the Richmond game, round 1 this year, I think he's one of our better players.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Only had about 9 or 10 touches, but probably had 6 soaring involvements of those 9 touches.
Yeah,
I've got him well ahead of McGovern because of his ability to go into the midfield, but also because, with Jackson Barney, he goes to every contest. He is a competitive beast, has become a competitive beast. He will just smash packs, even if he can't, fly and do all the fancy stuff. He will make a contest, which is exactly what we need.
And he plays like someone who grew up idolising the jumper.
Yeah. He
has of all of them. He has it.
He plays like someone possessed now when he gets out the field. He's scary to watch.
Sean Burgess asked Gibbons, what are your thoughts? Should he be given the chance to play as a permanent midfielder? Now, another one. It's hard to find his best position.
Yeah, midfielder.
He played his best football for Carlton playing in.
Not at all. It goes back to what I was saying before, that midfield and forward should be completely...
Should be one and the same.
Yeah, so the terms of a permanent midfielder, I think, in premiership teams going forward is going to be... No, that doesn't happen anymore.
Although the position of wingman is coming back into vogue.
So say it again?
The old role of a wing is coming back into vogue. They are an actual position again.
Yeah, and you get the Peter McConville footy card back in the day, utility.
I love utility. I remember in 1993 or 4 by footy carder Brent Heaver called him a utility in a year that he kicked 48 goals as a small forward, but they called him a utility. I didn't remember seeing him on a wing or in the midfield very much, but kicked 48 goals in a year and they called him a utility. I'm pretty sure he's a small forward.
I can see Gibbons playing up on a wing because didn't he? I'm pretty sure he spent some of his time in the VFL level as a midfielder.
Full-time midfielder, won 2 Liston trophies as a midfielder in the VFL, but with the greatest respect to Gibbo, the VFL to AFL step up is a massive leap. And if playing well at this level meant translated to form at this level, we'd have had two generations and 20 years worth of bona fide stars on our list. Think of the Nick Grahams, think of the Corey McGraths, think of the Patrick Kerrs, think of these. All at VFL level look like absolute. Kerridge is another one. Jed Lamb, these sort of guys. For 20 years, we've had them. Digby Morrell, at that level, look like absolute guns. They just never translated at the top level.
Unfortunately.
I think that Gibbons has played some very good footy for Carlton and playing through the midfield at times for some good footy. My only response to Sean is kind of how many are we going to fit in? We can't fit them all in. We've just said how we've wanted to see Petrevski-Seaton in there. We've all said we wanted to see at times the likes of Williamson go through there. We've all said, well, now we've got Williams. We've somehow got to fit in Stocker, Dow, Kemp. We've only got 6 spots. If Mark Murphy and Curnow are still around, and Setterfield and Martin and Cripps, and we can't play them all. So we keep hearing Cunningham.
And I'm sorry, Shannon, I disagree with you on him becoming a wing because the wing position is going to be like your Tom Williamson and Caleb Marchbanks of the.
Okay.
Marchbank's a great idea as a wing. I think that's fantastic.
Never thought of Marchie as a wingman, but now that you mention it, he's got the athleticism when fit.
Remember when Matthew Richardson nearly won a Brownlow on a wing? That's what I see Caleb Marchbank doing that exact same thing.
Fair enough. No,
sorry, Shannon.
No, hey.
Jared Waite. If we had a 25-year-old Jared Waite on our list right now, that's exactly what we want.
Yeah.
Well, I want to put Jared Waite that's not going to get suspended every week.
Yeah, I'd even cop one getting suspended because it means he'd have some shit about him still. But, that sort of role.
I like
is this going to be an unpopular opinion? No, I'm going to be fair. Come on, JR, you got the new ball. How many more years does our running machine Ed Kerner have left in him?
Well, I want to pose that with I want to answer a question with a question. Simply because I think our list management has been great over such a long period of time now. You go to the end of next year, who are you going to drop? There's no
off the list, you're saying?
Yeah, who's going to retire or who are you going to drop?
Oh, I've got a few in mind, but okay.
You have to get rid of about 3 or 4 at least.
I can think of 3 or 4 off the top of my head. Do we have to name?
Okay, definitely. I think, just off the top of my head, it's going to be one of the hardest seasons to be able to do that. Does Ed Kerno fit into that mould? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
It depends on who comes up. If Stocker is ready to play his role next year, then he does fit that mould.
Yeah, I still think he would have a role on the list. I think ultimately for me, he's probably got, let's say, at least 2 more. Probably guys got to go for 2 more. I think Mish is throwing you on the couch. You don't even live in our house, but you're sleeping on the couch, mate. if you say we've got to make 3 or 4 list changes, for me, ones if I'm ranking them first to 37, however many we've got on the list right now, if I'm working backwards, I'm probably looking at Ramsey, Owies, but both of them could potentially come on. They're only young.
Hang on. No, senior list.
Okay, Kennedy.
Yeah, but he's no longer senior list.
Murph will retire, as much as it pains me.
I think Murph will retire.
I think Eddie Betts will retire.
Kennedy is now a rookie.
Yeah. Well, you can always dilly-dally a little and re-rookie for someone, but Eddie Betts is a rookie as well. Yeah.
LOB won't be there if he doesn't show something. There's
Who
another
will?
one. Lockie O'Brien, if he doesn't show.
Well, O'Brien's absolutely one of them.
Yeah, I think the recruitment of Jack Nunes and him being so good is stymied.
And now they've gone for Williams as well.
Yeah. It's really pushing LOB to really do something or look for trade options at the end of 2021.
But I reckon there was rumours that he was trade bait this year. But I go back to it again. It puts a bit of fire under all of these guys to say, well, I mentioned it last week. Who's putting their hand up to take Mark Murphy's spot? Who's putting their hand up to take Ed Curno's spot? It's up to these guys to really step up and take it. I would love to see Stocker, these sort of guys. I would love to see. I'm not a Matthew Kennedy hater as much as people think I am, but I want to see them, put their hand up and take a spot. Is Matty Cottrell on our senior list or the rookie list still?
Is the rookie.
Yeah. So that's the thing. That's what makes it so difficult. Is the ones that you think are on the cusp. They're already rookies.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I suppose this is a good thing, isn't it? I suppose this is a good thing. The only thing working against Ed is probably his
Age.
He's over 30 years old. Same thing with Murphy. Same thing with Betts. All these. Betts is probably slowing down at a faster rate than the first two. But if we're having to look at guys like we mentioned Kennedy, but if we're looking at guys like O'Brien, who still has the potential to come good.
Yeah.
Next in line, I'm probably going to be really, really harsh, but it also almost comes to the likes of Gibbons and Newman, Philp. They're probably the next in line, but we bat deep enough now that we bat deep enough now that they're the sort of names getting in contention. If I didn't even think of it in the terms that you posed, that these sort of guys who were probably the first out are all rookies now.
Yeah.
I hadn't even thought of it like that. So the fact that it's even a possibility that Curnow might actually fight for a spot in 2022 can only be a good thing, as much as it would hurt, because he's been a fantastic servant at our club.
It hurt to get rid of Simpson. It really
hurt to get rid of Daisy. It hurt to get rid of, Yeah.
I'm mentally preparing myself for Murphy.
And there's so many roles Ed can play.
Cunningham's another one.
Cunningham under the pump. All the names we've probably just mentioned, or the younger guys at least, they're going to go one way or the other. They're either going to prove us wrong and get there, or they're going to become ultimately a flop. Whether it's a Cunningham, O'Brien, Dow, McGovern.
Cunningham frustrates me the most because
I think so.
His upside is, we saw it in the Essendon game, and he was absolutely unstoppable, and it happened. He frustrates me the most because of his potential, but that's what's going to get you delisted, his potential.
That's right. How many other players have we had that have had potential and that we've gotten rid of? Just purely on potential. You actually need to stamp your authority on that list. And
as we said before, you've got to want it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Because if you don't, you're pretty much in the way it's going at the moment with the list, like downsizing, the door's going to be right there.
And that's what we were talking about last week about Liam Stocker. He's a kid who, on top of the training regimen he's been given, has decided to spend November running 161 Ks additional to that which he's been given to run. There's a kid who wants it. we've just said there's all this fight for position and there's all this competition for a spot. Here's a kid who goes, F all of you, I want it. Good.
Yep. That's what you want.
I love it. More of that, please.
Traditional was a key word, wasn't it?
Traditional was the key word. A lot of people, so many people go, oh, really? He ran 160 Ks. Good on him. Well, those people who are saying that probably haven't run 160 meters this year, let alone 160 Ks. But that's, here's a kid who has done it tough apparently this year and has had kind of, has been through the ringer this year apparently. But he's decided to make good of that and turn it around and go, no, I'm going to make it. And I shared last week, and I'll continue to share it because I'm genuinely excited about it. As a cheer squad, I just sent him a message on Instagram and just said, really, really pumped to see you doing all this extra work, mate. I just wanted to encourage you and say, great stuff, keep it up. We're really hoping to see you out there this year. And I will reply with what he said. He said, well, can't wait for you guys to see me. Get ready. You're about to see me in full flight. And Goosey's thinking about a young fellow with that much confidence in himself to word it like that, because I think, shit, yeah, let's see it,
Oh, yeah. I've got two players that I'm most excited to see.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of them. And the other one is Josh Honey, who I think could become another.
Could be that forward we want.
Yeah. We didn't get to see much of him this year. In the game that he did play, he's still developing 100%. And I think that the games that we saw something there.
The fact that he was able to break into the senior side in a year like this shows he's got something.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And
Andrew says it's the sixth season for the class of 2015, and it is now time. We know that Wiedering's a lock. We know that Mackay's a lock. Pending fitness, we know that Charlie Curno's a lock. Silvani is probably, in the midst still, but it might be going either way. With Cunningham, he's probably the one left from that draft. It's time.
Time is now. 100%.
We've used, you just said about Josh Honey. Well, we've said, he's developing about someone like Cunningham for 5 years now. Now it's time.
Yeah, we can't keep saying they're developing. It's like, it's now or never.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for some of them, I think, when you start talking about Philp, then you keep him on the loose because, developing is still a good word for him.
He's a second-year player this year, isn't he, Phil? So, yeah. Well,
it was tough. We had to get rid of Fraser Phillips as a first-year player. Yeah. Sorry, son, there's not a lot of spots to give out, and it was a harsh reality. And someone had to get the job, and ultimately it was him. I think they probably thought that at least for next year, the likes of Kennedy and Betts and these sort of guys who moved on the rookie list, they probably think that for 1 year, they probably offer just a bit more next year than Phillips will. And ultimately, that was the decision that got him cut.
Tough calls.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of this year, really.
I want to delve into these tough calls a little more, particularly when you're talking about tall backs. But you mentioned, earlier how the possibility of this guy from Sturt might make a real impact real quickly, but then you've got to look retrospectively of who we got rid of, who could potentially play that role. Now, why have they been gotten rid of? And that's the story that I want to get.
Let's start. Hugh Goddard, slower than me.
Yep.
But he's got shoulders. You put him in the goal square, no one will kick it past him.
He is a monster. I think I shared the story in the first episode. I saw him as an under-18s player of Vic Metro versus Vic Country at Sandringham, and he's playing centre-half forward. He was drafted as a centre-half forward by the Saints, and that draft was Paddy McCartan and Petrarca and Darcy Moore and all these sort of names running around that day. But McCartan was the number one, and he was the one that everyone was going to see. McCartan played full forward, but what's his name? Goddard played centre-half forward. By half-time, I was looking in the record saying, who the hell is this bloke? He's taken 16 marks at half-time. It's Hugh Goddard. And I remember thinking we'd seen the next Nick Revolt or the next Jonathan Brown. He was just ridiculous. Never eventuated it. And injuries has played a part, but I remember the one game he played last year, 2019, was against the Swans up there, and he ultimately hurt himself early. But I remember seeing him run back to goal, like chasing, I think it was Jordan Dawson or someone who was chasing back to goal, and he was going backwards. It was like that horse that gets shot every year in the Melbourne Cup. He was his legs were going like this. He just wasn't moving. And, it wasn't a good sign. Finbar O'Dwyer got cut. Ultimately, why did we pick him up? No, that's harsh. But
I didn't see
did we ever see it up? Did we ever see anything?
No. Heard huge raps on him. Never saw anything.
Should I missed the raps. I actually think that it's harsh. I don't want to make fun of the kid, but he was kind of a meme in his entire time at Carlton. People would make him a cult figure in spite of talent, sort of thing. Who else did we get rid of? McCready, well, injuries butchered the kid.
Yeah.
Did he have the talent? Probably. Was he ever going? Did he end up showing enough? No. Who else did we get rid of?
He butchered the ball so badly at VFL level.
Silvani.
If you can't get target at VFL level, you're not going to make it AFL level. I'm sorry. And Harry McCready had all the potential in the world. He's just another one of those ones that you drop the word potential. Like I've seen.
We can't keep you on the list any longer for potential.
No, and if you can't hit a target from 15 metres away at Preston City Oval, then this game's not for you. Sorry.
Now the elephant in the room.
Well, we mentioned Callum Moore before. It's a no from us.
Silvani.
And in terms of him coming back on the list, it's a no from us. That leaves Ben Silvani, which we've discussed on this show. For me, I didn't see enough.
No, my unpopular opinion was him in the first week, and I saw a bit of him in the VFL level, and I still stand by my unpopular opinion that he just didn't show me enough.
Was Finbar drafted?
We're talking about going to rookie, not to full list.
Okay.
Oh, in terms of you could have made Benny a rookie instead?
Yeah.
That wouldn't have been. I wouldn't have been against the idea.
No, I wouldn't have either. But they've obviously made the decision based on what they've seen. So they obviously didn't think they saw enough of Ben to make him a rookie. That's probably just the way it went.
Possible harsh call again. In a couple of video packages that I've seen of this kid, Luke Parks, I've seen more than I saw in 2 years on the list from Ben Silvani.
Yeah, look, I'm only playing devil's advocate here because I don't see it as a wrong thing. I just want to get to the essence of why they were all cut. And I reckon they were all cut because they didn't have the drive that we had talked about.
100%. And we compare Benny, like he's bigger than Jack. He's broad shoulders. He's taller. I don't think he wants as much as Jack.
The endeavour wasn't there. The endeavour that Jack has, Ben doesn't.
Yeah. Ben, Jack didn't have it when he started off either.
No, 100%. Oh, he was a kid. He still has fucking dimples. I mean, the genetics of that family, they're gorgeous, all of them. But if Dimples got your Brownlow votes, he'd become, Bob Skilton sort of thing. Like, it's ridiculous. But, yeah, he was a boy, and he was still a fan of Carlton, living his dream. Now he's a Carlton player.
Yeah. And I think Ben was still living in the fact that I'm an AFL footballer and then just lived by that title. Didn't really give it what it needed.
And, yes, this year was shit for everybody involved, and it stunted a lot of people's potential development or whatever and throws us better in the works. But in light of that, some people still showed an endeavour and a hunger to succeed. Some just ultimately didn't.
How many of the boys practiced the side?
Sorry, Shannon.
Sorry.
Over you, darling.
No, it's like, go. No, go.
No, sorry. I'm very sorry.
That's okay. No, I was just going to say, how many of those boys that cracked into the side this year, despite of everything, still got into that best 22 of play?
More played 2 or 3 games. He's the only one.
Matty Cottrell played a couple. Josh
Cottrell, we were talking about those guys that got listed. Yeah, sorry. Cottrell found a spot. Owies found a spot. Honey found a spot.
Yep.
Cottrell found his spot and kept it.
So it's not really an excuse for these boys, was there, really?
No, I strongly agree. I 100% agree. It is what you make of it.
Yep.
The fact that none of our listing got picked up elsewhere suggests the club made the right call. I agree.
Yep.
There was no one banging the door down to grab Ken Polson from us. There was no one banging the door down to take Harry McCready off our hands. And again, with lower list sizes, if everyone had a full list, might they have gone after a Ben Silvani as a rookie spot? Maybe.
Guess we'll never know.
we will never know. Unless if they do want it enough, like we've said before, if you want it enough, you've got an opportunity now to go back to state level or whatever it looks like. fight for it. Come and play on Carlton's reserves list or something, or whatever that, however your pathway might go.
Yep.
Go and do it. If you want it enough, you might find your spot way back on an AFL list. We mentioned Ed Curnow. He got, he was on an AFL list for a bit and then got dropped off, and Sam Mitchell got overlooked in how many drafts. And if you wanted it, Michael Gibbons got overlooked in several drafts. If you want it enough, you find your way back on an AFL list.
Yep. Josh Kelly is the same from West Coast. He couldn't get onto a list for a long time. Went to Geelong.
Go Shannon, you tell it as it is. You got there's your first fan mail.
Yeah.
He's still ahead of Dow, Stocker, and O'Brien. I don't think that Philp is ahead of Dow or Stocker. I think he is ahead of O'Brien.
Yeah, I wouldn't put him ahead of Stocker at this point.
But again,
ahead of Dow.
You would have him ahead of Dow? I would. Yeah.
Yeah, because of his ability to use the ball.
Yeah, I think that Dow's ability to get the clearances, and I think he's got a bit more speed. Or maybe there's a difference here. I think he's got more speed. I don't think he's got more quickness. Now, there is a differential there.
Off the mark speed, are you talking?
I think quickness is something that over in a congested area, you find you give Eddie Betts the ball and put 10 blokes around him, he'll manage to work his way out.
Yeah.
But over a 100-metre dash, Chris Yarran had him like that. He would just glide past Eddie Betts. But in that little quick congested, I think that's what Philp has over Dow. But I think in an actual run all day at high speed, I think Dow, hands down, is ahead of him.
Yeah. There you go.
Nick Holman got dropped from Carlton a couple of years ago. Oh, hang on, I clicked on the wrong one. Went back to the Sandful, got back onto the Suns list. Yep. So if you want it enough, you'll get back there.
He's actually
Billy Gale got dropped from Carlton a couple of years ago, found his way back.
Yep. Great.
The VFL list is shaping. Did you see the video of VFL signings? That's something we haven't touched on.
No. I've been following their. If you haven't already, follow their social media page.
They've got a Twitter page. They've got an Instagram page. Absolutely.
They've got a Twitter page as well as a Facebook page as well. So, no, I've seen a few ex-AFL player signings there, and I think it's actually coming together quite nicely. And I do think that they'll have obviously spots there for our 10 or so that don't make the senior 22 every week. So I reckon it's actually going to be great for our development of these boys if we have our own standalone. Nothing against the Northern Blues. I did love them, but I think having our own standalone gives our coaches more of a leeway than having a club like Northern Blues with an external idea, I suppose, if that makes sense.
The Navy Blues should never wear red.
Preston, look, it was a good relationship while it lasted. Ultimately, I thank the Northern Bull Ants and all of what they've done, but ultimately, a lot of people who are loyal to Preston probably have a right to be angry at us because Carlton kind of did come in, and they were a flandering side when we made the link, but all actual history of that club kind of went down the drain when Carlton came in.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, we've got some good players. James Parsons signed with their reserve, so he's formerly on Geelong's list. Riley Stoddard, I think came from the Swans list. Yeah. They've had a few. I'm trying to find the lad's name because there's one who I remember 12 months ago. Forgive me here.
So while we're doing that, Shannon, I just want to pick up your point on how great it is to be a standalone and fantastic inclusions that they've got in that VFL side because they're using that side for what it absolutely should be, is it should be a platform, is it shouldn't be
a stepping stone somewhere, right? Like
it shouldn't be let's go and win it for Preston, that type of thing. It should be a platform to say, okay, let's go to those players who didn't make it the first time, give them another chance type of thing.
Yeah.
Let's go to those players who didn't get drafted. Let's give them a shot.
And if there is a player who's at the crossroads, we've mentioned many of them in the last 5 minutes, so many players at the crossroads, how can we save your career by throwing you from the half forward to the half back? How can we change Liam Jones? playing at the VFL level
Yep.
has made him probably 150 game player now for Carlton.
Yep.
That sort of ability to save someone's career is ultimately, for me, what a second-tier competition is all about.
Yep.
As you develop the likes of Stockard, Dow, Kemp, whoever it is. Cody Hurst is the other one who the reserves have signed. So 12 months ago, when Carlton ultimately picked up Callum Moore, I think ultimately it came down to Moore, Lucas Webb, Jordan Cunico was from Geelong, was also touted, and Cody Hurst come from the NEFL. This kid Hurst is someone who I think that everyone needs to keep an eye on, and is someone who I think will one day end up on an AFL list. Small forward, possibly the sort of player that we kind of needed on our AFL list this year, but it has the goods. And just everyone keep an eye out. We've all enjoyed going to the VFL, and we've all over the last couple of years enjoyed the likes of Tommy Wilson and Fisher and a lot of the Northern aligned players we've enjoyed watching. I reckon Hurst is one that we're really, really going to enjoy watching for those of us. So keep an eye out there.
Let's just not turn into a Kane Lambert situation, and if he's good enough, just overlook him. We don't want that again.
Yeah.
Not only him. Who was it? Ahmed Saad was on our list and went elsewhere, and Adam Markon went elsewhere. We let a few go from that Northern Blues list,
Yeah, no, but having that reserves, it takes me right back to my childhood when we used to have the reserves before the seniors at Princess Park. And actually having the reserve side, it actually, like you said, Nick, it actually gives our coaches the opportunity to go, right, I'm going to move you here, see if it works. Doesn't work, move you somewhere else. And Carlton has all the control over it, whereas we had that external with Preston. So I feel like this is probably, whilst, like you said, it's a sad to be separating from them, but it's so much positive. I'm taking the positive out of it, and it's going to be something that we'll look back on going, Carlton made the right decision. 100%.
Totally agree.
Let's not forget, they've got their own license now for the.
Yeah, they do. They're back playing.
It's sorry, Preston. That's a bad thing.
They are now our opponent,
and they've done it themselves. I reckon it's brilliant.
Oh, good on them. Absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic.
I'm a Frankston boy, born and bred, so I still hold quite an affinity for the Frankston Dolphins. They battle, but they're a proud bloody club, and I wish that same sort of good vibes and good feelings to the Northern. Will they become the Preston? I think they'll stay as the Northern Bull Ants.
They're the Northern Bull Ants now.
Yeah, but Andrew Lake says he's seen Cody Hurst as well. He got picked up at the Swans mid-season when we took DeLuca. He got a lot of speed about him. He also says that Ryan Sturgis, who's also come onto our VFL list, was also in the mix for that last spot, played a Marsh Series game for us this year.
Did he?
Don't remember. Oh, yes, I do actually. Yes, because we had a handful of trial players. All could.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
He did too. Good pickup, Andrew. Jeez, look at this. Stats man.
Andrew knows everything.
That is a hell of a pick.
He is Carlton Google. He's Carlton Google. Seriously, I don't go to Google for Carlton stuff. I just ask Andrew because I'll get a quicker response.
Andrew should meet our friend Matt.
Look, Andrew has been following Hurst for a long, long time.
He can play.
We have to remember with Andrew, it's not widely known, but he's been one of the great scouts at Werribee that have put them from obscurity to absolute, champions.
Had quite a few decent players over the last handful of years. Yep.
And and who's seen them? Type.
Yeah.
And he's a big out for Cody Hurst, so really excited for that.
Mac Champion saying COVID's been good for the Waffle and Sandford exposure. Silver lining, i.e. Parks. I really agree. With no VFL this year, many of our VFL guys where did they go? They went to play in South Australia. They went to play in WA. In effect, those two leagues almost became super comps with the best of the best playing, and you didn't get a game unless you were really good.
Yep.
There was no development league sort of level talent playing in those teams. So for an age, that's why this draft was dominated primarily from the Sandford and Waffle. But a lot of these underage and these junior talents coming through, i.e. Parks, as a 17, 18-year-old to be playing against that quality and that caliber players and to dominate at that age, it's why I'm all in. I reckon Parks is going to be a star for us.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm gonna have to go back and have a look at his highlights reel because I feel like I'm missing out here.
Colin says Nick Newman came from the Dollies. He sure did. He came from the Dollies. Benny Cavara came from the Dollies. Sam Lloyd, who retired today, came from the Dolphins. Matthew Boyd played in a premiership for Footscray from there. Tory Dixon played in a premiership from Footscray from there. Luke Beveridge coached a premiership from Footscray, coached the Dolphins.
There you go.
Feeder system. Frankston represent. 3199. I'm a Franger boy at heart. Always will be. Guys, I've had an absolute ball. Thank you so much, John, for jumping on with us as our first ever guest.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. I really do feel privileged, to be on this show.
Mate, we feel privileged to be able to be sharing the platform that you and Trevor helped build. All we do is talk a lot of shit and have a bit of banter, but to be able to have a platform that, thanks to something you guys have created, is actually really awesome for us. And it's really great to see so many. Thank you, everybody, in our comments, because a lot of these names, whether it's Mac or Andrew and so many of you others, Sean, but so many of you becoming regulars, faces and regular names to myself and Shannon. So we're feeling a part of the team here.
Feeling the love.
It's a part of the show where we do all the shout outs and all of our plugs and all of that sort of stuff. Carlton Live's got a Christmas party, John. Did you know about that?
I did, and I won't be attending, given that I'm and absolutely loving life. It was a move I had to make. It was great.
Well, exactly. Good on you for doing it. Carlton Live have got a Christmas party at Norton's Hotel this Saturday. Forgive me for not remembering the times, but the event is on Facebook. Also, we want to shout out, I was repping the Carlton Pride scarf before. Carlton Pride have a new Facebook page. We've always had a Facebook group, but we've now got a Facebook page, and I want to see everyone getting around that. We've also just launched a end-of-year raffle in which they're auctioning off a signed Alison Downey, an AFLW jumper, and a Guernsey Club scarf of hers. Get around Carlton Pride. I mean, I know I'm speaking from a position of bias being on that committee, but at the moment, we're still a small group. We're only a couple of years old in our infancy, but we're a group that is doing great things, trying to change the landscape, not only of Carlton Football Club, but the wider supporter base and the AFL in general, to make it more friendly and safe place for all LGBTIQ persons and allies alike. And, so get around the team with Carlton Pride and try and get involved in that. Anything else, Shan?
No, I think I am good. I think we have absolutely everything that we wanted to touch on tonight, and I do hope that everyone does get involved and keep giving us topics to talk about, because heading into Christmas, we will need them.
Absolutely, yeah. And look, and we did go a bit, toward our first episode's timeline of an hour and a half tonight, but we've covered everything. It was a big. So much to talk about. This has been a huge week for our club in so many different ways. So it's really, really cool. But everyone in the comments, please hit us up. Maybe we'll try and walk down memory lane maybe next week. Next week will be our last episode before Christmas.
Yep, a Christmas special.
Let's finish off the year with a walk down memory lane. I want to hear everyone's favourite Carlton memories, your favourite Icon Park memories, or Princess Park, as we call it.
Grand final memories for those that have seen them.
I want to hear from everyone what it means to be Carlton. Let's share your happy stories about this fantastic bloody club that we all love and adore so much. So maybe we'll try and make next week a bit of nostalgia for everybody.
Sounds like a plan.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shan. Thanks, JR, for joining us.
Yeah, no worries. I just wanted to finish by saying, firstly, tomorrow is, next week is the Andrew Lake show. He'll tell you everything that's happened in the last 1900 years at Carlton. And Nick, I just also wanted to say I think you have progressed humanity significantly during the week.
Thank you kindly, sir. I appreciate that. I know what you mean by it. Appreciate that.
Sending you lots of love.
Back at you, everybody. Thanks so much, Andy. I'm going to get your phone on because I haven't put a comment of his on yet. Perez, he's on. Thanks so much, everybody. And we'll see you all same time, same place next week for our last show before Christmas.
Yep. Go Baggers.
Baggers.